The central idea in my work today is looking at the relationship between digital technology and traditional hand approaches to creating a garment. I follow as closely as possible the French couture process of hand stitching seams and hems and facings. In the French couture tradition, the inside of a garment is valued as much as the outside, and I strive to make beauty both on the outside and on the inside. I ran up against an obstacle at one point in that work where I wanted to create a skirt out of silk that would not wrinkle and that was comfortable and stretchy like a knit skirt might be. And I wasn't sure how to go about that. And I got into researching techniques for creating stretch, and that led me to pleating. And pleating led me to an Italian designer, Mariano Fortuny, who is famous for a particular kind of pleating. Those pleats are very shallow, they're very tiny, they're irregular, they resemble the gills of a mushroom. So I pleated the skirt that went with that Japanese-inspired jacket, and that led to a quest of how to pleat better, finer, how to make pleats really tiny and more parallel. And then it led to how to drape with pleated fabric, how to create three-dimensional folds and shapes. And then I did an experiment to see what it would look like if I printed silk with a digital textile printer and then pleated that fabric. And the current work that I'm doing now is about digitally printed silk fabrics that are usually shown in an outfit or an ensemble with a pleated dress and an unpleated coat.
I would say if I describe my design process, it generally starts with an idea. I think about something for a while. I spend a lot of time looking at books, reading magazines, looking at fashion shows, social media, just getting an idea of kind of how this thing is going to come together. I usually take all of the images and create a collage or a notebook of images, rough sketches, dimensions of the object, kind of a general idea of what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. For me, an idea either takes form as a piece of cloth itself. It can take form of an embroidery, a piece of art within a frame behind glass, but sometimes clothing happens to be the vehicle for the expression of the artwork. I like the idea of creating an intimate environment for the viewer so the viewer can investigate the hidden meaning that lies in the details, whether that's the pattern or the textile print or the concept of a piece in general. Each piece has a narrative, it has content that's important to me, so if the viewer connects to that, all the better. My work is varied, and that's important to me. I believe in the practice of what I call divergent doing. I might weave for a long period of time and be successful at that, but I reach a threshold and I need to diverge from weaving, so I pick up embroidery. I'll do embroidery for a while and move to something else. But eventually, it all has a sense of convergence in the end. It's meaning through cloth.
My research actually goes back to when I was a senior design student, and I started to look at things very differently. Up to that time, I'd always just taken cloth and made something out of it, but now it was, how could you make the cloth, or how could you make the garment, or how could you not necessarily just add embellishment, but how could you add something really unique to it. So I have put in this exhibit piece I did as a design student at Fashion Institute of Technology. The studio mentor for that class was Oscar de la Renta, so you had to do hundreds of sketches, and he came in and chose that one. And since he's passed, I kind of wanted it to be in the exhibit. It's done with a macrame tunic out of rat tail satin cord and metallic cord. There's another two grouping that I was exploring Impressionist paintings. I've always been really inspired by the Impressionist, and I did some research on what happens in Impressionism, and it was dots of color, especially complementary colors next to each other. And so those two represent taking those same rat tail satin cords out of different colors and putting them next to each other in a macrame top and a chiffon skirt that is also playing with that color against each other. The last part, and more of my doctoral research, has been with cultural textiles, and I've always been intrigued with cultural textiles. So I like to take what the artisans do in cultures and work those into garments. There's one from Uzbekistan that I pulled several hand-dyed scarves together, and then learned their embroidery of Suzani with heavy silk thread on the jacket. And the other one was an Indian sari that was a gift to me, and I asked if I had permission to make it into an evening gown. And so it's a embellished Indian sari, beaded into an evening gown.